Do you want to buy a house one day? How about that sports car that you've been eyeing up for the past few months? Chances are, in order to make a purchase like this, you are going to need to borrow some money. How much money? Well, that depends on what you're going to buy. But one thing is true about borrowing money. You will have to pay interest. According to the Simple Dollar, an organization with expertise in personal finance, the average American pays roughly $8,037 of interest a year on amounts that they have borrowed. This amounts to approximately $361,000 of interest over just the working lifetime of an American. Want to lower this staggering amount? Then it's time to work on your personal finance skills. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about creating a loan amortization table, which illustrates the amount of interest and principal paid on a loan by using the Microsoft Excel software. According to the Tennessean, a subdivision of USA Today, only 37% of Americans are deemed as financially literate. The resulting lack of knowledge among the remaining 63% of adults affects the disposable income and quality of life within our economy. Student loans are a huge topic in today's economy, and according to CNBC, an American will graduate with approximately $29,800 of student loans. This makes planning for loans and minimizing the interest all the more important. To create our loan amortization schedule, you are going to need the following: a laptop or other device that has Microsoft Excel, a basic understanding of Excel and its functions, and information about the amount that you are borrowing. This includes the interest rate, the repayment time or time frame, and the total principal borrowed. We will need to know a few basic terms in order to understand this table. The first is principal. If you need $10,000 to buy a car, you are borrowing $10,000 of principal. This is the amount that the loan is for. Interest is the cost of borrowing that principal. This is typically charged as a rate per period and is based on the amount of principal borrowed. A period is a time frame. It can be a week, a month, a quarter, or a year. It is important to calculating the amount of interest paid. Okay, it's time to get started. I'm going to use the following template to create our loan amortization schedule. We will jump more into detail with this later in the video as we progress. In order to create the loan amortization table, basic information about the loan is needed. For this example, we will be using a 5% APR, meaning that the yearly interest rate is 5%. The payment structure will be monthly, and the total time frame is 1 year. This results in 12 periods of payments. Finally, the principal, or amount being borrowed, is $1,000. Alright, let's start entering functions. The first function that we will need to use is the PMT function, or payment function. This calculates the monthly payment for the loan and will be constant across the lifetime of the loan. Once equals PMT is entered into the cell, the following dialog box will appear. Rate refers to the monthly interest rate and is our rate, previously shown in the table, divided by 12. NPER stands for the number of periods and is present in the period section of our initial entry table. Finally, PV represents the present value, or initial principal of our loan. Please use dollar signs as they are shown, as it will allow for the formula to be copied and pasted later and will save you a ton of time. Also note that if the field is not in bold, it is not required and we will not use it in this video. One common mistake that people make in this step is not putting a negative sign before the function. The syntax of Excel requires us to do this on all financial functions, or else the results will be negative. The next function that we will enter is the PPMT function, or principal payment function. This has similar arguments as the PMT function and calculates the amount of principal that is paid during the period. However, one change is the PER prompt. This is the current period and is the value under the period column in the corresponding row. Make sure not to use a dollar sign with this reference, as the formula can then not be copied and pasted. Following this, the interest payment, or IPMT function, will be used. This has the identical arguments as the PPMT function, but instead calculates the interest paid on the loan during this current period. Remember to be aware of your dollar signs and negative signs throughout these formulae. Our final financial function is the CUM-IMPT function, or the cumulative interest payment. This function calculates the total interest paid to date. The arguments are like IPMT, but two fields are different. The start period will be period 1, and the ending period will be the corresponding period of the row the formula is in. Make sure to use a dollar sign for the starting period, but not for the ending period. Alright, let's move on to the ending balance and next and the next beginning balance. The ending balance can be calculated by subtracting the principal paid from the balance. Please look at this picture because it excellently illustrates the ending balance. No dollar signs are needed for this. The next beginning balance is equal to the previous ending balance and is simply that value. Once this is entered, there are no more formula that need to be written. Copy and paste the formulae that you have created down to the last row of the table. If you use the dollar signs correctly, the entire table will fill out and look like this. As stated before, the most common mistake is forgetting the dollar signs in the formulae that we wrote earlier. This will prevent the table from being copied and successfully completed. If the lower right-hand corner of the table is equal to 0, you know that you have done this process right. Congrats! You are on your way to better personal finance and making the most of your money. Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed learning a little more about personal finance and using Excel.